that Jesus was an introvert. Okay? It's a theological statement. And it's not just because I am one, but because of his need for solitude and quiet prayer in order to refuel for his work. Our text today takes place on the Sabbath, the traditional day of rest in Judaism. However, while Jesus was at the synagogue, he was teaching, and in the middle of his teaching, he did an exorcism. He went back to his safe house, the home of Simon, Simon's brother, Simon's wife, and mother-in-law, and attempted to rest there. But he immediately needed to perform a healing of Simon's mother-in-law. Then, when Sabbath restrictions were lifted at sundown, everyone in town brought their relatives and friends for exorcism, healing, etc. There was no Sabbath for our man Jesus. The Gospel of Mark is filled with overwhelming crowd scenes, to which Jesus must respond. If he were an extrovert, Jesus would have been pumped up by this. Extroverts get their energy from other people, from the energy of public places and interactions. But Jesus had to get away from everything in order to restore himself. And this happens more than once. Jesus slipping away to pray and rest, or seeking privacy with just a couple of disciples or people to teach and impart wisdom. Now, I've been told that there is no way that I'm an introvert. And I believe that's because people in general tend to confuse introvert with shy and retiring. I am not shy and retiring, as you well know. Thanks a lot for that head shake back there. My Aunt Judy, who died two months ago, was on the cutting edge of developing personality evaluation tools back when I was in high school. And she used me as a guinea pig for some of her research. So I learned early that personality definitions aren't that simple. Here, for instance, are some basic definitions that become clear through the Myers-Briggs personality inventory. Anybody done the Myers-Briggs? Yeah. That's where you get the 4 letters that describe who you are, generally speaking. Okay. So this is the piece about extroversion or introversion. Where do you put your attention and get your energy? Do you like to spend time in the outer world of people and things, or your inner world of ideas and images? Extroversion and introversion are terms used by Carl Jung to explain different attitudes people use to direct their energy. These words have meaning in psychology that's different from the way we use them generally in language. Everyone spends some time, and they use this as a verb, extroverting and sometime introverting. I don't know if those are verbs, but well, you know. Don't confuse introversion with shyness and reclusiveness. They are not related. Ask yourself which of the following descriptions seems more natural, effortless, and comfortable for you. First one. I like getting my energy from active involvement in events and having a lot of different activities. This is my son. I'm excited when I'm around people, and I like to energize other people. I like moving into action and making things happen. I generally feel at home in the world. I often understand a problem better when I can talk about it out loud and hear what others have to say. And then the other description. I like getting my energy from dealing with the ideas, pictures, memories, and reactions that are inside my head, in my inner world. I often prefer doing things alone or with 1 or 2 people I feel comfortable with. I take time to reflect so that I have a clear idea of what I'll be doing when I decide to act. Ideas are almost solid things for me. Sometimes I like the idea of something better than the real thing. And I write my sermons in bed. That was probably TMI, but good, quiet place. So just so you know, when I get home from church on Sunday, do I romp and play with my son? No! I go to bed for several hours. John has charge of Peter, so I can nap or zone out or generally refuel. And you know that I'm not a shy, retiring person. It's just that being with people takes an effort, an expenditure of energy. I use up my energy in social situations and regain energy when I'm alone or with 1 or 2 friends. So, that tells you kind of the difference. The story about Jesus going on retreat in the wilderness for 40 days says introvert to me, all over. As he was discerning what kind of movement to build, what trajectory he was planning to travel, he spent a large chunk of time alone. story says that he had visitors, Satan being one of them, but I believe the storyteller was describing an internal conversation. And I have those all the time, and I told you I'm on medication for that, so it's good. I'm guessing that most of us, some more than others, have internal conversations. Some people call this their board of directors. I call mine my slumber party. Now, why does this matter to us? It matters if we are interested in understanding the motivations and personality of the founder of our movement. It also matters if we're interested in understanding the varieties of spiritual and religious experience that people seek in the world and in this very room. Adam McHugh explains in his book, Introverts in the Church, Finding Our Place in an Extroverted Culture. That doesn't state any opinion, does it? He says, when introverts go to church, we crave sanctuary in every sense of the word, as we flee from the disorienting distractions of 21st century life. We desire to escape from superficial relationships, trivial communications, and the constant noise that pervade our world, and find rest in the probing depths of God's love. These are the folks among us who actually enjoyed the Quaker service last summer, when we had, was it 35 minutes of silence? These are the folks who want our silent prayer time to last longer and be uninterrupted. These are the folks who want to quietly listen to the music and be filled with God's presence. The extroverts among us crave the passing of the peace, the sharing of joys and concerns, the fellowship time. They tend to be filled with the Spirit of God when we're singing Holly, Holly, Holly. And by the way, didn't enjoy the Quaker service this summer very much. As our psychological expert says, everyone spends some time extroverting and some time introverting, but most people have a tendency toward one end of the spectrum or the other. And this is what determines which vert we are. If they're going to make up verbs, I'm going to make up nouns. Thank you. Mesovert. Yes, urban vert. Right? Which vert we are, and often what kind of spirituality we practice or are fulfilled by. And then, like any form of religion, we have our extremists. Susan Cain, who's a lawyer and negotiation consultant, writes, evangelicalism has taken the extrovert ideal to its logical extreme. If you don't love Jesus out loud, then it must not be real love. It's not enough to forge your own spiritual connection to the divine. It must be displayed publicly. That would be the extreme end of this, spiritually. Somebody reviewing her book, and I don't know who the reviewer is, so take it with a grain of salt, said her book is called Quiet, The Power of Introverts in a World That Can't Stop Talking. At least 1/3 of the people we know are introverts. 1/3. Which makes that a minority, doesn't it? 1/3? Yeah, it's not 2/3. Okay, minority. They are the ones who prefer listening to speaking, who innovate and create but dislike self-promotion. That's a tough one. Who favor working on their own over working in teams. I don't buy that totally, because I love working on teams, but maybe that's my balance. It's to introverts, Rosa Parks, Chopin, Dr. Seuss, Steve Wozniak, that we owe many of the great contributions to society. In the book Quiet, Susan Cain argues that we dramatically undervalue introverts and shows how much we lose in doing so. She charts the rise of the extrovert ideal throughout the 20th century and explores how deeply it's come to permeate our culture. She also introduces us to successful introverts, from a witty, high-octane public speaker who recharges in solitude to a record-breaking salesman who quietly taps into the power of questions. I kind of want to read this book now. She also seeks to find ways for introverts and extroverts to better understand one another, which is our point here, because we're all here. And for introverts to understand their own contradictions, such as the ability to act like extroverts in certain situations, like when they're leading worship. Whatever our personality type, whatever our preferences are when it comes to worship and fellowship, all of us benefit from learning about and respecting our differences. It's okay to be different, right? Those of us who shape the worship service really do try to take those differences into account. offering times of quiet reflection, and then times of noisy community building. You will also find that we miss the mark on occasion, and not everyone will have expectations fulfilled every Sunday, but God is at work here, weaving our lives together into a remarkable and beloved community, an open-hearted village of mutual support, working hard to make the world a better place. So, if you stay for annual meeting after this, you'll find out what an amazing group this is. It's pretty amazing. We're stretching and going beyond previous expectations of what a church can be and do. We're in the process of transforming ourselves and our world, pushing for the kind of radical culture shift that Jesus was pushing for, that radical introvert. And there are places for both of us, introverts and extroverts, in this process. So stay, listen, contribute, be part of the change you wish to see in the world. I bet Gandhi was an introvert too. Mm-hmm. And today you will be rewarded with pizza. Thanks be to God.
And salad.
And salad. Lots of salad.